I went ahead and attended a family funeral, so luckily we had coverage. All righty, so we are on YouTube now. Good afternoon, this is Judge Alyssa Perez presiding over the 210th District Court Criminal Docket for May 10th, 2022. All matters being heard today are being heard in accordance with all emergency orders and directives regarding COVID-19. In addition to that, we are streaming all matters live via YouTube for public viewing. Mr. Marufo, will you call our first case, please?
Top of page 5, Judge.
Go ahead.
Clause number 2021-0D01564. State of Texas versus Fabian Gallardo Jr. Announcement of counsel, please.
Hold on. Ms. Annex, could we please have Fabian Gallardo, please?
Yes, Your Honor, it's coming out.
All right. Announcements?
Mr. Martinez, ready for the state of Texas on all cases.
Cesar Lozano, on behalf of Mr. Fabian Gallardo, ready to proceed, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, and Mr. Gallardo is appearing from the jail annex. I believe we were scheduled for a final hearing plea deadline initially, but I am looking at a defense motion for continuance on this case. Let me see. Okay. Yes, a defense motion for continuance on this case. Mr. Lozano, go ahead.
Yes, Your Honor. We have a registered and are participating in a CLE in San Antonio starting, I believe it's the 15th, and it goes through the 18th. And so for those reasons, we are asking for a continuance. I believe there is a follow-up trial date. On this case, so that's
what are the dates? I'm sorry, because I'm seeing a jury trial that we have scheduled this week and then the backup of June 17th. And if I look, let me go back to the motion for continuance. I was a little, kind of why I had a weird look on my face was because you all list the jury trial date as being July 17th, but it's June 17th. And then
yes,
you're referencing the Rusty Duncan conference, the 15th and through the 17th of June.
Right, and I think it's because, and you're right, Judge, that obviously the July has nothing to do with anything. That is absolutely a typo. We were referencing that special setting for June 17th that were, I think, what we were relying on.
Did we agree to go past this Friday?
My understanding was that we did.
Your Honor, we had specially set it because we have a couple of out-of-town witnesses. And so that's why we were going June 17th. And so we were going to today talk about, yes, go ahead and make travel arrangements, flights, those sorts of things for that specially set date.
So I do see, let's see, April 5th, there was a motion for continuance. Maybe that was for this week's trial setting. Okay, so we're talking about the special setting in June. But I thought, if I'm not mistaken, I don't remember who was here, just because we've dealt with everyone in your office on this case.
Yes, Your Honor.
Let me see. I thought we set this with council's input back in March. Am I wrong on that? Let me go back to my March settings. Motion for continuance, order granting, motion for continuance, a few more events. Let me go through some of these. Well, as I do that, Ms. Martinez, or were you finished, Mr. Lozano?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so is everybody, Mr. Mesa, Mr. Carmona, yourself are all going to Rusty Duncan? Is that what it is?
That's correct, Your Honor.
And did you all sign, did you all sign up after we had our trial set, or did you know you all were going to Rusty Duncan when we set the trial? I'm trying to understand here. Because by the entries I see here, order of court setting, order granting continuance. Myrna, can you tell me, when did we set the June trial setting? While we look into that, Ms. Martinez, if you can respond.
Yes, Your Honor. We will leave it to the discretion of the court, given, you know, all the history, so we don't need to decide it.
Well, I need to know if you all are opposed or not.
The state will not oppose the continuance. We would just ask for the same leeway should something come up, as I have not asked for one continuance this whole time in the future with our witnesses.
Judge, it's
Monday.
April 7th.
So on April 7th, okay. And I think that's where we discussed last time, the last defense motion for continuance, because you all were selecting a jury in a juvenile case, right? So you asked for that. So this is at least the second motion for continuance. I'll be honest, I know the state's not opposing it. I'm not sure why. Because the history on this case has been nothing but anticipated plea, delay. I have very little confidence that after we reset this again to what is supposedly an agreeable trial date, that we're not going to have another, I don't want to call it a fake plea, but this false sense that somehow we're going to have a disposition and then want a trial and have to make another accommodation. I'm really having trouble understanding, Mr. Lozano, why we're hearing about going to a CLE when you all agreed to this trial date. The court is ready to try, has been ready to try these cases. So I'm not inclined to grant a continuance. So if you have something else to add.
Well, Judge, I mean, it's up to you.
Okay, well, if it's that simple, then I'm going to deny the motion for continuance. We have, we have it set for final hearing plea deadline on the 14th and just special setting on the 17th. I do want to look at our calendar, but I got to think, let me see what we have. Oh, that's a holiday. Yeah, it looks like Commissioner's Court is available. So I am going to put in the request for as many jurors as we can fit in Commissioner's Court, only because the in 2/10 court process of multiple panels, you know, I just think it's better if we can, if there's a larger space available to do that. So the motion for continuance is denied. Where are we on the final hearing plea deadline? I mean, last I heard we have no agreement, right?
No, Your Honor, we will not be offering anything. We've done that, and things did not work out as we're told that they were going to, and so we're not offering anything. We are going to trial.
Let me ask this, Ms. Martinez, since the state was already calendar, do you have any issues with any of your witnesses?
There are two that I'm waiting to hear back from. So I can give you an answer by the end of the week.
Okay. Well, why don't we do this? I'm gonna give you all 1 week. I'll withhold actually the ruling on the motion for continuance. We're gonna come back in 1 week for a final hearing plea deadline. I just need an update on the status of witnesses. If we have witnesses that are all good to go for that date, then we're going forward on that trial setting. So we'll reset the final hearing plea deadline for 1 week, and there is no offer, correct, Ms. Martinez?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay, all righty.
And do you need do you need me to submit the travel vouchers? I know that we have done that in the past, or because it's not an appointed case, that's not an issue.
I don't think so. I don't think that's necessary. Alrighty.
And Your Honor, do you allow PowerPoint for your voir dire?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, and I'll have confirmation for you next week on the location of jury selection. How many people do you need on your panel, do you think?
Can we do 120?
We definitely can. I think we can. I think I would try and fit that many in Commissioner's Court. If push comes to shove, that would be 2 panels in the courtroom. So that's not too bad. Are you in agreement with that, Mr. Lozano?
Yeah, Judge, as many as we can get.
Okay, well, we can, I don't know if we could do more in commissioners. I don't see why not, but they frown upon putting too many bodies in any place. So I'll look and see what the numbers are. We'll reconvene in 1 week on everything. Thank you very much.
Governor,
Can I be excused?
can I say something?
Mr. Lozano, please don't discuss anything regarding the substance of your case. And then Mr. Lozano.
Yeah, Mr. Gallardo, we'll call you right now.
Your Honor, she said that like 2 weeks ago. I mean, the last time she said the same thing about the witnesses.
Well, you can talk to
I've
your
never been to
attorney.
PDC. I'm not on probation. I mean,
You sounds, Mr. Gallardo, I'm trying to get you to trial. Okay, so speak with your attorney. We'll be back in 1 week.
thank you.
May I be excused, Your Honor?
Thank you, Ms. Martinez.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Mr. Lozano. If you don't have anything else, you're excused as well.
I have a plea, Judge.
Who is it?
On page 6, Judge.
Mhm.
Calva.
Okay, let's do that one. Annex, if I could have Javier Rubalcaba, please. Mr. Rubalcaba, is that you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. I can hear you just fine. Go ahead, Mr. Marufo.
In cause number 2018 0D03021, State of Texas versus Javier Adrian Rubalcaba. Announcement of council, please.
Robert King for the state of Texas.
Cesar Lozano on behalf of Mr. Rubalcaba, ready to proceed, Your Honor.
And Mr. Rubalcaba is appearing from the jail annex. We are scheduled today for a plea of true. Mr. Rubalcaba, I'm going to be asking you some questions regarding your plea today. So I need to swear you in. If you would raise your right hand, please. Sir, do you swear or affirm that any testimony you provide will be the truth and the whole truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. You can put your hand down. Would you please state your name and date of birth for the record?
Javier Adrian Rubalcaba, 4/18/63.
Mr. Rubalcaba, I'm going to be asking you questions. Please make sure you can keep your mask on. Just please keep the voice volume up. Sometimes it's hard to hear, okay?
Yes,
Sir,
ma'am.
are you the same individual who on November 1st, 2018 was found guilty of the offense of assault, family violence, impeding the breath or circulation of another, and was assessed a punishment of 7 years straight probation? Are you that same individual?
Yes,
And Mr. Lozano, do you waive formal reading of the motion to revoke?
We do so waive, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Rubalcaba, I'm going to ask you about documents that were marked as States Exhibits 1, 2, and 3, the stipulations and waiver. Do you recall reviewing those with your attorney and signing those documents?
yes.
Did you understand everything contained within those documents?
Without my glasses, I can't really read some documents that he went through me with them. It was supposed to be for tourist probation, so I don't know.
Well, did they show them to you? Did they explain them to you? Did your attorney explain them to you? And did you have the opportunity to ask any questions?
The conversation was done through phone, so it was not in person, so I only had a certain time limit. He guided me through supposedly the paperwork.
Supposedly, what do you mean?
Or meaning when I asked him for probation, and when I was signing, he says, yeah, for probation papers, or that I needed some documents signed.
Did you physically look at documents marked as States Exhibits 1, 2, and 3?
Not in front of in front of me, but like I said, without my glasses, I couldn't see clearly.
All right. Okay. So, Mr. Lozano, I'm going to reset Mr. Rubalcaba for 1 week. We need to figure out a way where the court can feel comfortable. Yes, sir.
Judge, if I may, I understand that, I mean, I've been to many in-person hearings already. I mean, is this one where we can do in person? I went over the documents thoroughly with Mr. Rubalcaba. He told me he couldn't see them, and I told him that I was reading them right off the page, the same documents he had. When I got him returned signed, I assumed that he understood that we were signing the same document. So I think this is one of those that might be easier.
I think that's a great idea. So, Mr. Rubalcaba, so we don't have this difficulty with the remote aspect of your plea today. We are going to stop the plea of true. Mr. Lozano, we can have you scheduled, if you will consult your calendar, we can have him come in on Thursday at 11 a.m. Mr. Marufo, if you'll have him transported at that time, we're flexible on time. So if you can just
I'll be there.
All right, 11 o'clock on Thursday morning. Thank you, Mr. Rubalcaba. We'll handle your plea in person.
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome. All right, who's next?
Back on page 4, Judge. Barnes, Annex Me. We have Barnes.
Yes, sir. Who's coming already?
All right, is Ms. Caballero here?
Yes, Judge.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Go ahead.
In cause number 2020-0D05216, State of Texas versus Crystal Barnes. Announcement of counsel, please.
Roa King for the state of Texas.
Teresa Caballero on behalf of Ms. Barnes.
Okay, Carla, are you handling this case?
Afternoon, yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. All right, so, and Ms. Barnes is appearing from the jail annex. We're scheduled for a probation status hearing. I believe we might have gotten, may not have seen, we probably delayed a little bit the last time you were here, Ms. Caballero, but I think we had a motion, and am I understanding that that was rescinded, the motion regarding the competency, or am I confusing her with
Yes,
someone?
that's correct, Your Honor.
Okay, all righty.
That's correct.
So we're here for a probation status hearing. I'll tell you, I looked at this, I think from the last hearing. Is this the client that has quite a bit of time in? I don't know if maybe you all had been talking about something else, but maybe I should just ask you all for status. How about that, ladies?
Okay. Your Honor, what I can't speak to all of her back time. I don't even have access to the underlying case, but excuse me. But one thing I have asked for is on all of my probation cases, and I understand that the assistant DAs, they agree to it. They want to give me it, but there's just a glitch here to not be able to get to the underlying case. So I can't speak fluently to the facts other than I think she's on probation for possession of a controlled substance. And I think she has a history of supposedly not reporting. And so she was picked up. And at this juncture, I'm asking for a recommendation as well as a bond. And my understanding, according to my client, she has 120 days credit.
I feel like this is the individual who, when I reviewed it before, whenever she was set last, April 26th, that I think that stood out to me, right? That she has a ton of credit, time credit. But I can't really say anything more than that because I'm not looking at the update. Carla, do you have a little bit more of an update?
Your Honor, so Ms. Barnes was placed on probation last year, on March 31st, 2021, 2 years deferred. She reported at the beginning And then she failed to report June, July 2021. She reported August, and then September 2021 through present time, she failed to report until she got arrested on her capias for the motion to adjudicate that had been filed back on December 3rd, 2021. Besides failing to report to probation, she was also admitted into TAP, and then she was dropped for non-compliance due to not attending. She did not start or complete her BIP. And there's also reports from probation that she failed to attend any drug testing when instructed.
Okay.
Can I ask some questions that might help resolve this really quickly?
Yes, ma'am.
Does she have any felony convictions?
Okay. So,
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, so while we're pondering that, let's say she doesn't, would you all, since she's on deferred, would you all consider reduction? She doesn't have a conviction yet, so reduction to a misdemeanor credit for time served?
I'm not inclined.
I'm really not there either, Ms. Caballero. She has 130 days. No, 130 days total credit pre-plea. And since she's been booked now, I mean, I think, did you file a motion for the bond, Ms. Caballero? I don't recall. Let me go back.
Thank you.
Order of
Your
court.
Honor, may I add something?
Yes, ma'am.
So, I mean, I know Ms. Caballero is requesting a bond. In the court, if anybody from the court would consider, probation is recommending for her to be possibly for residential for BHRTC. It seemed like while the few times that there was contact with probation, she didn't have stable residence. So I don't know, I mean, there's possibly more issues to that, but unfortunately she really didn't report to get more out of it, but I'm just wanting to throw that out there.
Okay.
Thank you, Carla. Well, I see a shaking of the head, but I'll just put that out there. There's no motion to set the bond. I mean, I don't want to jump to conclusions. Certainly, Ms. Caballero, you know, you have communication with your clients, so I think you have a better idea. Although you're a little hamstrung, I think, by the DA system, that it has always been that way, that when we have these probation cases, we really, like I say, we defense attorneys don't really have, we don't get the access, right? So that makes things difficult. But there's time there. And I don't know that your client, I saw her shake her head when they spoke residential. You know, if you think there's I'll say simple resolution. I don't know if it's necessarily the right or the best, but if you think that's there.
Can I ask you, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a specific reason why a reduction to a misdemeanor credit for time served, why that would not be something the court would be open to?
I'm going to say it's the history, but let me ask Ms. King to tell me, because I'm relying on my memory and that's not a good. So, and I just closed out. Go ahead, Ms. King.
Okay.
Your Honor, there has been history. She does have a felony conviction for the same charge. And I believe she was placed on probation in 2019 and was revoked to 1 year confinement. But I do see that the past possession state jail, they were reduced, but every time she was placed on probation, we have this non-compliance going back to either, you know, so it's to the point where probation is just not working and she has history of the same offense.
Okay, so I'm going to have to talk to her, but I'm going to agree with the prosecutor that probation probably isn't the best thing for her. But considering that we're talking about, sounds like personal usage, and maybe we have a drug addict here, but she's not hurting anyone else. Why not just give her credit for time served on a misdemeanor? Because we can give her credit for time served on a felony. And even if it were a state jail, if we gave her 6 months, she's not there yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just with the history, I'm not there, Ms. Caballero. And so
Okay.
if you want to address the bond, I'll do it quickly. I know we're not, I think we're not totally slammed, so please file your motion.
Okay.
Talk to Ms. Barnes. If there's something else you want me to consider, for sure, we'll have another status hearing on it and see where we go. But my recollection is there was significant of enough history that I don't think I can go with the misdemeanor. So
What offer, Ms. King, are you willing to make? Because I'm going to have to go out to the jail to talk to my client. And I just want to put.
I'll just tell you where I am. I'm at 180.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I'm at 180. And like I said, I feel like I hate when it's something that seems so straightforward, because ultimately it's never so straightforward. So we can come back in a week if you think that's a good enough timetable, Ms. Caballero, and we can review the bond, all of those things. But I really feel like it's just kind of straightforward. I think we'll just
Okay.
credit.
So, Your Honor,
Mhm.
not to set aside your 180 because you're the fact and you're the decider here, the fact trier and the decider here. But is that where you are, Ms. King?
I was actually going to say 200, so that was very close, but I'm okay with
I like 180 better. Okay. All right. Thank you. I'll
Thank
see
you.
you
Do
all.
you wanna-
Oh, I'm sorry. We have a bond hearing. I need to wait for that.
Is that on another client? I don't have a
Yes,
motion
Your
on
Honor.
the. Oh, okay, beautiful. Ms. Barnes, so do you want to reset in 1 week, Ms. Caballero, or you need more time?
Yes.
1
1
week.
week is fine. Thank you.
Sounds good. 1 week. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Barnes.
Thank you.
Okay. Who's next?
Item
There it
approved
is.
by Judge.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Oh, well, who is it?
Annex, can we have Rodriguez?
I keep clicking out of Odyssey. While we're waiting for your client, I see we have a July trial setting and a backup in December. Can I just ask how realistic the July setting is?
Your Honor, I don't think that's very realistic for me, and I'm fairly new to the case.
Okay, got it. Just asking. All right,
thank
now
you.
your client is here, Mr. Rodriguez. Okay, let's go ahead and call it.
In cause number 2021 0D03011, State of Texas versus Juan Antonio Rodriguez. Announcement of council, please.
Loa King for the state of Texas.
Teresa Caballero on behalf of Mr. Rodriguez.
Mr. Rodriguez is appearing from the jail annex. We're scheduled for a bond hearing today. Ms. Caballero, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, this case has had one and only prior bond hearing back in September when he was arrested, and it's currently set at $1 million. I think that's very, very high. He is a native El Pasoan. He is a United States citizen. He's lived here his whole life. He doesn't have any priors that I know of. He has a place to live. He has a place to go. And in fact, in my office, which is also zoomed in, we have 6 of his family members in the office, 4 siblings, 3 sisters, 1 brother, and his mother and his father. And he has a home to live with his live in with his parents. His father works as a contractor out in Odessa. And if he were to be able to make bond, he would be asking for permission to go work with his father in Odessa. He has no children.
And just for purposes of the record, yeah, Ms. Caballero's office does, we have, I see several individuals there. Was that it, Ms. Caballero, for now?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms.
And if the court wants to hear from any witnesses, I'm happy to call them.
Sure. I can tell you right now, I'm definitely going to want to hear some more details if he's asking for permission to leave.
Okay.
But
Okay.
let me see what Ms. King has to say. Go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, the state respectfully opposes the bond reduction. He is a flight risk. Date of occurrence in this case was actually September 4th, 2021. He was not picked up until September 9th of 2021, and he was actually picked up at the border because I believe he went to Mexico and then came back for, but all I know is he was picked up at the border. And also, this is a case that involves a shooting of his mother-in-law in their own home. And therefore, because of the flight risk and the facts surrounding this case, the state respectfully opposes a bond reduction.
Well, does he, we're on the border, people go back and forth. I mean, was it a circumstance where he ran, or was there some kind of delay in knowing that, there was a charge? What are we talking about?
Your Honor, so no, he actually did flee the incident, and he did actually it was kind of a party that was happening, and the people who were present, I don't want to go through the facts too much, but allegedly they did tackle him down and to take the gun away, and that's when he just fled, and they are the ones who reported it, giving the description of the vehicle. And there was a search warrant that was issued to his phone and to kind of satellite locate the defendant.
Okay. Does he have family, Ms. Caballero, does he have family in Juarez, or?
Your Honor, I'm not sure, but, and I'm not sure this is going to cut for or against my client, but
Okay.
this incident happened on September the 4th,
Mhm.
and he was arrested September the 4th. So, whether he'd crossed the border and was coming back, he was coming back to address the issue.
Yeah, it looks
So it was
like
the same date.
It looks like he's booked. Well, the jailing on Odyssey reflects that he was booked on September 4th.
Correct. May I call his father to the stand, Your Honor?
You may, absolutely.
Thank you. If my office could get Mr. Rodriguez in front of the camera so the judge can swear him in.
You all can stay. You don't need to move. I just need him unmuted. Mr. Rodriguez? Oh, wait a minute. My box is shut. There he is. Mr. Rodriguez, if you could ask them to unmute, please, so I can hear you. There you go. All right, sir. Let me go ahead and swear you in. If you would, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that any testimony you provide will be the truth and the whole truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. You can put your hand down. If you'd state your name for the record, please.
Juan Antonio Rodriguez.
And can you tell me what's your relationship? You're the father of Mr. Rodriguez accused?
Yes, I'm his father.
Thank you. Ms. Caballero, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Rodriguez, where has your son always lived in El Paso?
Yes.
And where do you live?
14136 Rainbow Point.
And could your son live with you there?
Yes.
Okay, and who do you live there with?
My wife and my other kids.
And how many other kids do you have?
Living with me right now, another 2.
Okay, and where do you work?
I work in Odessa, Napo Electric. I'm an electrician.
You're a licensed electrician?
Yes, ma'am.
And who do you work for in Odessa?
Apple Electric.
And how often do you travel out there?
Every week. I work the whole week over there, and then I come on the weekend.
Okay. And what would you want your son to do if he were to get out on bond?
Well, I would like to have him working with me so I can take care of him.
And what does that mean? He leaves with you on Sunday night, Monday morning?
Yeah,
and you drive,
the whole week.
and then come back on the weekends?
Yes, ma'am.
And he would be living with you out in Odessa?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of accommodations do you have in Odessa? What is your home in Odessa?
Well, I rent in a motel.
And your son would be in your room with you?
Yeah, in my room.
Okay, the judge had asked if you have family in Mexico. Do you have family in Juarez?
Not right now. I had my father living in there, but he gets sick and he had a stroke. So we bring him with us over here to, he's living with my sister now.
Okay, so you're the only family member you had in Juarez lives in El Paso now.
Yes,
Okay, and your son, where did he go to school here in El Paso?
he went to Manwood.
Okay, and where has he been working?
Excuse me?
Where has your son been working? What is your
With-
son's job? What was his job before he got arrested?
Oh, he had a car dealer.
He had a small car dealership, correct?
Yes,
And where was that?
it was on Montana Avenue.
And did
Here
your
in
wife
El
some,
Paso.
okay, and did your wife sometimes help him with that?
Yeah, she does.
Okay, and that's your wife next to you, correct?
Yes.
Okay, pass the witness.
Ms. King, do you have any questions?
No, Your Honor, but I did want to just point something out that he was actually picked up in a different county. He did flee the scene for this incident.
I don't know if, Ms. Caballero, from this witness, I guess my question is going to be this. If the court, if the conditions do not allow son Rodriguez to leave El Paso County, who is he going to be around? I've understood him to be living at the, I'm saying Diamond Point, but it's not Diamond Point, at the residence here in El Paso County.
He would live in his parents' house, Your Honor, with his mom. And I would like to call the mom.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Go ahead, Ms. Caballero.
Okay, if you could swear the mother in, Your Honor.
What's her name?
Gina Rodriguez.
Okay, Ms. Rodriguez. Ma'am, do you swear or affirm that any testimony you provide will be the truth and the whole truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you very much, ma'am. You can put your hand down.
Thank you.
Ms. Rodriguez, what is your relationship to my client?
He's my oldest son.
And where do you live?
Here in El Paso, local.
What's the address?
14136 Rainbow Point.
Rainbow.
And how long have you lived there?
We've been living there like it's almost 3 years.
Okay, do you rent or do you own?
Own.
Okay, and you live there with whom?
With my son Jose Rodriguez, Nadine Rodriguez.
Okay, and if the judge were to let your son out on bond, where would he live? At that address?
Yes, ma'am.
And if the judge did not allow my client to leave the county to go with his father to work in Odessa, he would just stay there with you in the home.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, tell the judge about your son's car dealership and your involvement in that.
Me? No, he owned that with his partner. It wasn't me.
I understand. My understanding is that you would sometimes help him.
Well, sometimes.
Okay.
Not always.
Okay. What would you do when you did help him?
Nothing. I would just go in there and just watch if he had a sale.
Okay. And how long did your son own the car dealership?
Well, for years, I don't remember, but he used to one half in Alameda and now in Montana, but it's been a few years.
Thank you. Pass the witness.
Ms. King?
Yes, Your Honor, I may have two questions. However, is it, I did not catch her name.
Gina, I believe it's
Gina
Gina.
Rodriguez.
Hi, Ms. Gina. I'm ADA King. Just I had one question.
Sure.
You mentioned he owned the dealership with his partner. Is his partner the deceased daughter in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Okay.
All righty. Ms. Caballero, thank you. Ms. Rodriguez, did you have anything else for Ms. Rodriguez or another witness?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm sorry. I have one question.
Yes,
Sure.
ma'am.
Excuse me, I have a very bad cold. Ms. Rodriguez, how much money can your family put toward a bond?
50,000.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Thank
Okay.
you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Anything else?
No,
Nothing.
ma'am.
Okay. So let's see. Anything else, Ms. King? I'm sorry, I'm looking at some notes. It was a 5. There, I'm showing on the, with the requirement now with SB6, we have this PSR system. There's some type of, and it's unclear to me, some type of warrant from Crane County. What is that?
Your Honor, I can't see the offense for that warrant. Maybe Ms. Marissa can help, but that's the warrant that he was actually initially picked up on. And Crane County is around 260 miles away from El Paso. That's why he was booked on September 4th, because now I'm going back to clarify. But I'm not sure what the warrant was for what offense.
My information, Your Honor, is that's for a speeding ticket.
Oh.
A long time ago.
So Crane County is where? Do you know, Ms. King?
So it shows that, well, just for a little, it's 5 hours from El Paso, and it's around Midland. I'm looking at the map right now.
Okay.
I'm understanding it's by Monahan and Odessa.
Okay.
And
So
Monahan's is a speed trap. I've gotten stopped there.
Okay. All righty. Okay. Well, and the state is opposed to any bond reduction, correct?
Yes, Your Honor, he did flee the scene, and they put a tag on his vehicle, and I can maybe guess that's why he was stopped.
All right. So respectfully, Ms. Caballero, that request for a bond reduction is denied. We are coming back at a final judges conference on June 23rd. I do want to look at the trial track. We have a good number of months between our initial trial setting and our backup setting. And I just want to be able to discuss thoughtfully, a better trial plan. Seems like July is too early. I don't know if December is too far down the road, but I don't know what else needs to happen in this case. So
Okay.
let's just start looking at that. Of course, if something happens and you need to readdress the bond, Ms. Caballero, please file your motion and we'll have a hearing. Mr.
Okay,
thank you very much to you and your family for appearing today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Caballero.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, I think Mr. Hernandez, who does Mr. Hernandez have? Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez.
Bottom of page 6, Judge, Valenzuela Annex. May we have Mr. Valenzuela?
Jasmine
Miss.
Valenzuela.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry. I know you have another hearing, Mr. Hernandez. Ms. Valenzuela? All right. Can you hear us okay?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Marufo.
Because number 2022 0D01179, State of Texas versus Jasmine Valenzuela. Announcement of counsel, please.
Well, King for the state of Texas.
Edward Hernandez on behalf of Jasmine Valenzuela, Your Honor.
And we are scheduled, Ms. Valenzuela is appearing from the jail annex. We are scheduled for a bond hearing. Mr. Hernandez, you may proceed.
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, all I'm asking at this point is for the court to reset the bond where it was rightfully set before. Ms. Valenzuela was initially put on PR bond on one felony possession under 1 gram and criminal trespass and criminal mischief in the misdemeanor courts. Then she was arrested in 22 P file 01988, which was
was allegedly an assault causing bodily injury. And then the state declined the case. But unfortunately, my client was arrested on all these other cases before the state decided to decline its own case. So I've already gone into misdemeanor court. They've already reset the PR bonds, and this is the only case left, Your Honor. Again, it's just a possession under 1 gram. She was arrested for a case that the state decided not to pursue anyway. So I'd ask the court to just reset the 1,500 PR bond as the court had set a 500 cash surety before the state declined its own case.
Okay, so you're asking for the straight PR bond, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. King, are you opposed?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, so that'll be the order. It'll be a 1,500 PR bond. She's to report monthly by phone, subject to testing, use no illegal drug or alcohol. I am going to put a curfew from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Subject to testing. God, it's been a while since I've done the conditions. Hold on. Must not leave El Paso County or change your place of residence without court permission. Let me see what else. I think that's it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All righty. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Valenzuela, give me a call when you get home, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez.
My excuse, Your Honor.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Who's next?
Back on page 4, Judge,
Mhm.
bottom of page 4. Annex, may we have a Bywater?
Mr. Rosales, what's the bond on this gentleman?
I believe it's $20,000
Okay,
cash surety, and then there's a PR component.
okay.
My portal shut me out because I was on too long, so I lost the page that I was on the DA portal.
And is that Mr. Bywater?
Yes, it is.
Okay, wonderful. Go ahead, Mr. Manuel.
In cause number 2021 0D02344, State of Texas versus Killian Ray Bywater. Announcement of council, please.
Oh, it came for the state of Texas.
Mark Rosales, Your Honor, on behalf of Mr. Killian Bywater, we're ready.
And Mr. Bywater is appearing from the jail annex. Mr. Rosales, you may proceed on your bond hearing.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Bywater, I believe, was arrested in late April. I'm not entirely sure on that because, like I said, as I was preparing, I had the DA portal open to read from it, but it closed and the session ended right when you called my case. In any event, I believe his bond is at $20,000 with cash surety with a PR component. I've spoken with Mr. Bywater. He's unable to make any, he doesn't have any money to post a bond of cash or surety, and he certainly doesn't have the collateral to support a cash surety bond in that amount. At the time that he was arrested, he was living with his father by the name of Sean, S-H-O-N, Bywater, same last name. He would return to live with him at the same address that he had posted when he was arrested. His father's phone number can be provided. I have it and I can provide it anytime, and he would live with him, and that would be back in Arizona. At the time that he was arrested, and now he does not have a job, and that's part of the reason why he has no money to support a cash surety bond. He is a United States citizen. He has lived his entire life in Arizona. He does not have an active U.S. passport, and I don't believe that he would pose a risk factor for that reason. I concede there is, I guess, some risk factor because he's not here in El Paso County, Texas, but when arrested, he was where I think he could most easily be found with his family. And he was pulled over, it's my understanding, at a traffic stop. He was not driving, but nevertheless, he volunteered his name and his ID and was arrested without incident. And I think that goes somewhat to his risk factor. Let's see. He has had no contact with any of the alleged victims in the case since the alleged incident occurred, which I think would be in early 2021. I don't believe he has any arrests, misdemeanor or felonies. And I think that makes him a good candidate for a PR bond. That's what we would be seeking.
Understood. And let me just ask, so he's going to be asking to go back to Arizona. Is that right? And then our complainants, they are residents here of El Paso. I mean, there's no, yes, okay. All right, Ms. King.
Well, they were residents, pardon me, before I misspeak.
Mhm.
They were residents at the time of the offense. I do not know where they are residents of now. I do not think they are residents of Arizona. So
Okay.
to answer your broader question, they would not be in the same city.
Okay, so they're not like family, they're not anything, nothing like that,
They are family, but
not in the same household, anything like that.
correct.
Okay, all righty. All right,
Yes, Your Honor. There is no criminal history. However, the state is going to oppose the bond reduction, and the reason being is because of the age of the victim. Actually, the victim barely turned 3 years old yesterday. Or I believe she was born in 2000, or he was born in 2018. So.
Your Honor, may I interrupt? I don't know what's occurring at the annex. I have no objection to the state offering the complaint affidavit, any of the information on that, but I don't know if it needs to be live streamed or certainly not placed on Zoom.
I agree, understand. And so my only, my bigger concern, well, not that my bigger concern. So are you going to offer it, Ms. King?
Yes, Your Honor.
I have no objection to the complaint affidavit.
Okay.
The case.
Give me a sec because I'm scrolling through a few different screens. And I did see, I through my PSR system, I don't see any criminal history. Is that accurate, Ms. King?
Yes, Your Honor, that is accurate.
Okay. Okay, what else, Ms. King? So you oppose a reduction?
Yes, Your Honor, the state does oppose for the reduction.
Okay, give me a second to look at that. Okay, anything else, Ms. King?
No, Your Honor.
And Mr. Rosales, anything else?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. The request to reduce the bond is respectfully denied.
Thank you, Judge. May I be excused?
Mr. Bywater, you may. Who's next?
Middle of page 5, Judge.
Mhm.
Annex, may we have Lewis?
Good afternoon, Judge.
What pages? Marissa, on that last one, I don't think I've been good at giving you my reason. So community safety, nature and circumstances. I think that's it. We have a bunch of tall defendants today. Yes, ma'am.
I actually had already sent you the order,
Oh,
but
okay.
I'm leaving them blank. So
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I've been forgetting to do that. Okay, so this is Mr. Lewis. Mr. Lewis, is that you?
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon. It's just as you're like the second or third really tall individual today. So thank you for trying to adjust. Is everybody ready?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. I'm sorry, Marufo, did you already call it?
No, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead.
In cause number 2015-0D0-0151, State of Texas versus Victor Lewis. Announcement of council, please.
Well, it came from the state of Texas.
And Myrna Pages for Mr. Victor Lewis. Ready, Your Honor.
And Mr. Lewis is appearing from the jail annex. Sir, would you, I'm going to be asking you some questions regarding your plea today. So I need to swear you in. Would you raise your right hand, please? Sir, do you swear or affirm that any testimony you provide will be the truth and the whole truth?
I do.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. You can put your hand down. Sir, would you state your name and date of birth for the record?
Victor Lewis, July 1st, 1994.
Mr. Lewis, are you the same individual who on April 30th, is that right? April 30th, 2015, entered a plea of guilty and was placed on deferred adjudication for the offense of possession of a controlled substance in penalty group 2 in an amount between 1 and 4 grams And you were placed on deferred adjudication for 5 years. Are you the same individual?
Yes.
Ms. Pages, are you waiving formal reading of the motion to adjudicate?
I am, Judge.
Mr. Lewis, there are documents related to your plea that were marked as States Exhibits 1, 2, and 3. Those are the stipulations and waiver. Do you recall reviewing those documents with your attorney and signing those documents?
Yes.
Did you understand everything contained within those documents?
Yes.
Ms. King, are you asking to admit States 1, 2, and 3?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Pages, did you review and explain those documents and the consequences of signing those?
I did, Judge.
Mr. Lewis, are you intelligently, knowingly, and voluntarily waiving the rights explained in the documents that you signed?
Yes.
You understand that by signing those documents, you're giving up certain constitutional rights?
Yes.
And do you understand you're making a judicial confession?
Yes.
Do you understand that on your plea of true and all reasonable probability, I will find the allegations in the state's motion to be true, and in all reasonable probability, I will find you guilty of the offense of possession of a controlled substance and penalty group 2 in an amount between 1 and 4 grams? You understand that? Okay. With regard to the motion to adjudicate, what is your plea? True or not true?
True.
True. Okay. Other than the plea agreement between you and the state, are you pleading true because the allegations are true and for no other reason?
True and for no other reason.
Understood. Okay. And what is the agreement, Ms. King?
Your Honor, it's going to be 2 years TDC.
Mr. Lewis, is that your understanding of the agreement?
Yes.
And Ms. Pages, is that your understanding as well?
That is correct, Judge, and we are respectfully asking that the court give Mr. Lewis credit since, I believe, August 8th of 2021, when he was arrested on our warrant, on the state's warrant.
Okay. And this is when you had inquired before. Is that right, Ms. Pages? You had asked the court?
That is, yes, Judge.
Okay, sure. And so that will be, I will accept the agreement and also give credit to Mr. Lewis for the time going back to August 8th, 2021. Is that correct? Yes?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. So state's exhibits having been admitted, the court will take judicial notice of all documents in the district clerk's file in this case. Based on the evidence presented here today and on your plea of true, Mr. Lewis, I find there is sufficient evidence to support the allegations in the state's motion to adjudicate, and I will find you guilty of the offense of possession of a controlled substance, group 2, in an amount between 1 and 4 grams. The judgment is hereby amended from 5 years deferred adjudication to 2 years confinement in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice Institutional Division. You will receive credit for any and all time that you have served, including time credit beginning August 8th of 2021. Is there anything further, Ms. King or Ms. Pages?
Nothing further.
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
Good luck to you, Mr. Lewis.
Appreciate it. I got a question. So is it from August 8th to today, or what are the exact dates I got credit?
Beginning August 8th through today.
Oh, appreciate it. And how would I go about getting my parole transferred back to Illinois?
I'm going to ask you that, I'm going to refer you to your attorney on that, Mr. Lewis, okay?
Okay, appreciate it. Have a good day.
Same to you. Thank you, Ms. Pages.
Thank you, Judge.
Who's next, Mr. Marufo?
Next, may we have Rochelle?
Mr. Rochelle, you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Marufo.
In cause number 2021 0D01401, State of Texas versus Xavier Jonah Rochelle. Announcement of council, please.
Well, came from the state of Texas.
And Myrna Pages from Mr. Xavier Rochelle. Ready, Your Honor?
And Mr. Rochelle is appearing from the jail annex. Mr. Rochelle, we're scheduled for a plea today. I'm going to be asking you some questions, so I need to swear you in. Would you raise your right hand, please? Sir, do you swear or affirm that any testimony you provide will be the truth and the whole truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. You can put your hand down. Would you state your name and date of birth for the record?
Xavier Jonah Rochelle. Date of birth is 03/09/2001.
Mr. Rochelle, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about documents that relate to your plea, the first of which is marked as State's Exhibit number 1. Those are the plea papers in this case. Within that document, you're guaranteed certain rights, including the right to remain silent, the right to trial by jury, the right to counsel, the right to confront and cross-examine witnesses, and the right to call witnesses on your behalf and in your defense. Mr. Rochelle, do you recall reviewing State's Exhibit number 1 with your attorney and signing that document?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you understand everything contained within the document?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Pages, have you had more than 10 days to prepare a defense in this case?
Yes, Judge.
And did you explain the plea papers to your client?
I sure did. Yes, Judge.
Do you believe he has understood the admonishments, rights, and consequences of giving up these rights by entering his plea today?
I do believe so.
Mr. Rochelle, are you satisfied with your attorney's representation of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Pages, do you have any reason to believe your client is not presently competent to enter his plea?
I do not, Judge.
Mr. Rochelle, have you ever been found incompetent by any court?
No, ma'am.
Ever been examined by a doctor or psychiatrist who has found you mentally ill?
No, ma'am.
Based on your testimony, your attorney's representations, and my observations of you, I'm going to find that you are competent to enter your plea. Sir, are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes, Your Honor.
Where were you born?
Here in El Paso, Texas.
Okay, so the charge against you is violation of protective order 2 or more times within 12 months. That's a 3rd-degree felony. To that charge, sir, what is your plea? Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Are you making your plea freely and voluntarily?
Yes, Your Honor.
I will find you are making your plea freely and voluntarily. Ms. King, would you summarize the evidence, please?
Yes, Your Honor. Were the state to proceed to trial on the indictment, the state would have proven each and every element the offense charged, violation of bond or protective order two or more times within the last 12 months beyond a reasonable doubt. Judge, the defendant is pleading to 3 years of deferred adult probation, 3 years of adult deferred probation, and other terms and conditions stated on the state's plea paperwork. And at this time, the state moves to admit Exhibit 1 as the state's plea paperwork, Exhibit 2 as Article 3914 disclosure, and Exhibit 3 as the indictment.
No objection, Your Honor.
Without objection, states 1, 2, and 3 are admitted. Ms. Pages, is that your understanding of the plea agreement?
Yes, it is, Judge.
And Mr. Rochelle, is that your understanding as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
I understand that the plea agreement is not binding on the court. However, if I were to reject it, I would allow you to withdraw your plea. If I follow the plea agreement, you may not appeal this case except on matters raised by written motion and ruled on before trial or by permission of the court. The next document I'm going to ask you about is the trial court certification of your right to appeal. It is a 1-page document that explains your appeal rights. Because this is a plea bargained or negotiated case, you do not have an automatic right of appeal. Mr. Rochelle, do you recall reviewing the trial court certification with your attorney and signing that document?
Yes, ma'am.
Finally, the last document, the motion for deferred adjudication. Or did you review the motion for deferred adjudication with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you sign it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Pages, have you explained to your client both the benefits and detriments of deferred adjudication?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Rochelle, do you understand that if you violate a condition of deferred adjudication, the court can proceed to sentence you up to the full range of punishment? Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
And are you asking the court to grant you deferred adjudication?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I will find there is sufficient evidence to substantiate a finding of guilt. However, I will not enter a finding of guilt at this time. Instead, I will defer further proceedings and place you on community supervision. Pursuant to the plea agreement for a period of 3 years, there will be a $4,000 fine. However, because you are indigent, I am going to probate the entirety of the fine, which means that as long as you are in compliance with the terms and conditions of your probation, you're not going to owe the fine. If at some point you are out of compliance, they can come back and collect the entire fine. You will be screened for TAP, subject to urine breath analysis, curfew, 200 hours of community service, court costs, and you are to have no contact with the complaining witness. Is there anything further, Ms. King or Ms. Pages?
Nothing further from the state, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor. First and foremost, thank you so much for probating his fine. I do need to make the court aware, Judge, that my client is currently on federal probation as well. It's my understanding that upon getting out of jail, he is to report to, I believe it's an inpatient drug facility in San Antonio, Texas. He does need to do that as part of his federal probation. And so I don't want him getting in trouble for not being here in El Paso. So I just want to make the court aware of that.
Ms. Pineda, I don't know, sometimes you all have some preliminary discussions when we have pleas. Is this something that was discussed with probation already or no?
I wasn't aware, Judge, but
okay.
I'm making notation of it.
Yeah, let's go ahead and notate, obviously, if we need to modify some type of reporting, if there's something that probation is going to recommend, in light of a specific whatever treatment or things that are required under his federal probation, the court will accommodate that. But Mr. Rochelle, understand, sometimes it gets confusing when you're operating with different entities. You have one probation office over here, this and that. You need to keep this probation office apprised of everything that is going on. They will notify me. I don't want them, because of confusion, to come back and tell me, well, we lost track of him, or he's, failed to report, or he's just, dropped off the face of the earth, because that will only mean more difficulties for you. Okay, so make sure you are communicating with probation, and they're now also made aware of this. Anything else, Ms. Pages?
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Mr. Rochelle, good luck to you, sir.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor, that was my last case. May I be excused?
You may. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay. Mr. Valdivia, I believe, do we still have that one going?
Yes, Judge.
Okay.
Next, may we have Valdivia?
Okay.
All righty. Mr. Valdivia, sorry. Yes, okay. All righty. Is that English?
Number 2018-030-6090, State of Texas versus Julian Rene Valdivia. Announcement of council, please.
Okay, for the state of Texas.
Brent Stevens for Mr. Valdivia.
Mr. Valdivia is appearing from the jail annex, scheduled for a bond hearing. You may proceed, Mr. Stevens.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mhm.
Your Honor, my client is currently on deferred adjudication in this court. He pled on July 16, 2019. It was 5 years deferred adjudication for a burglary of a habitation. He's 25 years old. He lives in El Paso. He was born in El Paso and has been here his whole life. I have communicated with his mother. If Mr. Valdivia is released, we have a place for him to live with his grandmother, and I have the address. It's been confirmed that he can live there. My understanding is he was employed when arrested. He's a cook, and the last employment that I know about is at the Union Draft House. He has a high school. He went to high school at Montwood through the 11th grade. He doesn't have children. Denies any type of mental health issues. I know the probation department was recommending BHRTC for the probation. At the beginning of when I first met with Mr. Valdivia, he informed me that he was in agreement with that. However, that's been a couple of weeks and we haven't been able to do any type of modifications. So I do not know if he's still in agreement with that, but we are, at this point, I'm requesting a bond.
Okay, so he's no bond on deferred. Okay.
Correct.
Ms. King?
Yes, Your Honor. The state respectfully opposes the bond reduction. We do actually have some history. We have January 2012 burglary of a habitation that was adjudicated to a true, but it was to a lesser theft of property between $500 and $1,500. We also have 2013, a conviction, 27 days confinement for possession of marijuana less than 2 ounces. We have 2014, unauthorized use of vehicle. I believe that one, I apologize. Yes, that one was 90 days. Going back to the possession of marijuana in 2013, there was a count 2, I believe, for possession PG2 less than 1 gram. That one was to a lesser by 1244B, and that was 90 days confinement. There's also 2017, we have the possession between PG1 between 4 grams, less than 200 grams. However, that was dismissed. And we have also another POM that was dismissed in 2017. We have And he actually did also pick up an evading, and that is out of CC 7, I believe.
Mhm.
So there has been a history since juvenile.
So aside from the evading, I guess from when we're looking at the probation stuff, that the evading is the only new offense, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Double. Okay, sorry. Mr. Stevens, do you have anything else?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
Okay, so I guess the question is, Mr. Valdivia, are you ready to go to BHRTC?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we got to get him screened, Carla. With respect to the bond, Mr. Stevens, I mean, ultimately, I mean, I think I would just put $100,000 bond on his case. I'm good with sending him over to BHRTC, so we need to get that process started. If you're all, I mean, you might need a minute. I'll reset it for 2 weeks if you'd like for a probation status. But if you don't need to talk to him anymore, I just assume get the process started.
Judge, from the very beginning, Mr. Valdivia told me he was in agreement with that. It's just that it's been taking quite a long time. So, and it takes another probably 45 days to get him there. So that's why I was going to go ahead and ask for the bond. But
Okay.
if Mr. Valdivia is still in agreement today, then we're in agreement.
Okay. All righty. So that'll be the bond. Carla, I'm not sure exactly how to work it best logistically to get him going on BHRTC.
Your Honor, if I may,
Mhm.
according to the report that I received from the probation officer, the case has been screened and qualifies. The
Oh,
only delay we will encounter is the pending charge that we have. So I would, refer to Mr. Stevens. He would need a PR bond or something on that pending CC7 case.
Maybe Ms. King would be kind enough to dismiss that, and that will send him on his way to BHRTC. That would be the fastest way.
You said it, not me, Mr. Stevens.
It is a fairly new case, that's why.
Sure. Let me see if I can look at it real quick. There it is, 2022.
It's just an evading on foot.
Here, does he have any prior evadings? No. Well, for purposes of the bond hearing where we have our bond, I may put it for a probation status in 2 weeks, just to see if we've squared away what we need to square away for BHRTC or not. So I don't want to rush you. I don't want to rush you into anything, Ms. King. So if we have a dismissal after today, if we don't, we'll come back in 2 weeks and just see where we are on the probation case. Unless you want to tell us something.
Thank you, Your Honor. One thing for the record, the reason I'm not inclined to dismiss the misdemeanor currently because it was they did submit his blood for maybe intoxication, so we are waiting on that. I do see that now in the affidavit. The date of offense is April 26th.
While working, observe a gray in color accurate to be traveling west on, oh, okay. So you're saying we might have a DWI on our hands?
Correct, and he left the vehicle and started running.
Oh.
So I am not inclined at this point to.
Understood, understood. It's never as clear cut as we think. All right, I actually will set that probation status hearing in 30 days. So sorry, Myrna, we're gonna do 30 days, not 2 weeks. Unless we already have settings. No, we don't. Okay.
Judge, may I ask if the court would be, that reset would be on a Tuesday jail slot, just in case it does, we all agree on BHRTC, it just makes it easier.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Ms. Carla, your wish is my command. 30 days on a Tuesday at 3 o'clock. Please, Myrna. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Valdivia.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brent.
Thank
Okay.
you. Goodbye.
Goodbye. let's take care of Mr. Rito Alvarez.
Next, may we have Alvarez?
Yes, sir, it's coming up.
Da-da-da.
Your Honor, do you activate the function or do I just do it consecutive? I don't, whatever, however you want to do it.
We utilize the function, although I'll say the last few times we've done it, the interpreters have been requesting we do not initiate it until they're given instructions. But I guess the annex doesn't need instructions, so we can just activate it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry,
Thank
it's
you,
a
Judge.
long day. So once we get the interpretation function, if council could please just select English. And let me know when you all are ready.
I'm ready, Judge.
Oh, I know you're ready, Mr. Yanez. You're ready. Okay, let's go ahead and call.
In cause number 2021 0D01945, State of Texas versus Rito Alvarez. Announcement of council, please.
Paula King for the state of Texas.
Ms. Yanez, on behalf of Mr. Rito Alvarez, we are ready, Judge.
And Mr. Yanez, do you recognize your client who is appearing remotely from the jail annex?
I do.
Okay, and Mr. Alvarez is utilizing the assistance of a court interpreter. Ma'am, would you state your name for the record? Thank you, Ms. Hernandez. Mr. Alvarez, we're scheduled for a plea today. And so I'm going to be asking you some questions about your plea, to include about documents that you should have reviewed with your attorney. Before we get started though, I need to swear you in. Would you raise your right hand, please? Sir, do you swear or affirm that any testimony you provide will be the truth and the whole truth? Yes. Thank you, sir. You can put your hand down. Sir, would you state your name for the record, please?
Rito Alvarez Lascano.
Mr. Alvarez, as I mentioned, I am going to be asking you questions about documents you may have reviewed with your attorney, the first of which is marked as State's Exhibit number 1. Those are the plea papers in this case. Within that document, you're guaranteed certain rights, including the right to remain silent, the right to trial by jury, the right to counsel, the right to confront and cross-examine witnesses, and the right to call witnesses on your behalf and in your defense. Mr. Alvarez, do you recall reviewing State's Exhibit number 1 with your attorney and signing that document? As an addendum to that document was an additional set of 15 pages of further admonishments, further written admonishments, both in English and in Spanish. Do you recall reviewing those additional admonishments with your attorney and signing that document? Did you understand everything contained within that document as well? Mr. Yanez, have you had more than 10 days to prepare a defense in this case?
Yes, Your Honor.
And did you explain the plea papers to your client,
I did.
including the written, further written admonishments?
Yes, Your Honor. Regarding his registration requirements, yes, we've discussed those.
Okay, do you believe he understood the admonishments, the rights and consequences of giving up these rights by entering his plea today?
Yes, he did, Your Honor.
Mr. Alvarez, are you satisfied with your attorney's representation of you? Mr. Yanez, do you have any reason to believe your client is not presently competent to enter his plea?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Alvarez, have you ever been found incompetent by any court?
No.
Have you ever been examined by a doctor or psychiatrist who has found you mentally ill?
No.
Okay, so based on your testimony, your attorney's representations, and my observations of you, I'm going to find that you are competent to enter your plea today. Sir, are you a U.S. citizen?
No,
Okay, are you a Mexican citizen, or where is your citizenship?
Mexicano.
Or Mr. Alvarez, have you had a sufficient opportunity to discuss any immigration consequences of your plea today with an attorney?
Sí.
Mr. Yanez, were you one of the attorneys advising him on the immigration issue, or did he seek additional counsel?
I was the one that advised him on his immigration issues, Your Honor. I do practice immigration, and I practice exclusively immigration when I first started for a couple of years. So I did advise my client on the consequences and that he's going to get deported, Your Honor.
Okay. And so, Mr. Alvarez, did you have any, is there any need that you should require further advice regarding the immigration consequences of your plea?
No, está bien, sí.
Okay, then I just need to advise you that because you are not a citizen of the United States, you have received advice from an attorney, but a finding of guilt before this court may result in your deportation, exclusion from admission, or denial of naturalization under federal law. You understand that, Mr. Alvarez?
Sí, 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 entiendo.
Okay. And you would like to proceed with your plea, is that right?
Sí.
Okay. In this case, you were charged by 2 counts. You were charged by indictment with 2 counts of aggravated sexual assault of a child. Sir, to count 1, what is your plea? Guilty or not guilty?
Sí.
As to count 2, guilty or not guilty? Is that guilty, sir?
Sí.
Okay. Are you making each of your pleas freely and voluntarily?
Sí.
I will find you are making your pleas freely and voluntarily. Ms. King, would you summarize the evidence, please?
Yes, Your Honor. Were the state to proceed to trial on the indictment, the state would have proven each and every element, the offense charge in count 1 and count 2 of aggravated sexual assault of a child beyond a reasonable doubt. Judge, the defendant is pleading to 8 years in TDC and other terms and conditions stated on the state's plea paperwork. And at this time, the state moves to admit Exhibit 1 is the state's plea paperwork, Exhibit 2, Article 3914 disclosure, and Exhibit 3 is the indictment with the admonishment paperwork.
Any objection, Mr. Yanez?
No objection, Your Honor.
And states 1, 2, and 3 will be admitted. And is that your understanding of the plea agreement?
It is, Your Honor.
Mr. Alvarez, is that your understanding of the plea agreement?
Sí.
Understand that the plea agreement is not binding on the court. However, if I were to reject it, I would allow you to withdraw your plea. If I follow the plea agreement, you may not appeal this case except on matters raised by written motion and ruled on before trial or by permission of the court. The next document I'm going to ask you about is the 1-page document entitled The Trial Court Certification of Your Right to Appeal. It is a document that explains your appeal rights. Because this is a plea bargained or negotiated case, you do not have an automatic right of appeal. Mr. Alvarez, do you recall reviewing the trial court certification with your attorney and signing that document?
Sí.
It was signed by your attorney and signed by the court as well. So on your plea of guilty and the evidence introduced, I will accept your plea and at this time find the evidence substantiates your guilt. I will find you guilty of 2 counts of the offense of aggravated sexual assault of a child, and I will sentence you according to the plea agreement to 8 years confinement in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice Institutional Division. You will receive credit for any and all time that you have served. Is there anything further, Mr. Yanez or Ms. King?
Nothing further from the state, Your Honor.
And nothing further from us, Your Honor.
Good luck to you, Mr. Alba. Thank you, Mr. Yanez, and thank you, Ms. Hernandez, for your patience this afternoon.
Thank you, Judge. May we be excused?
You may. We're all good. Thank you so much for waiting. Annex, thank you very much. Can we get off of YouTube?